Hello everyone, welcome to NFL Picks and Predictions Week 1. It's time, finally, after months and months of waiting. Um, Quite an off season. My power ranking video will be up later tonight. So bear with me on that. But if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. I've been on here for about 4 years now. I'm actually got a pretty decent track record on me. We'll start, and we'll just cut right to it. First game, tomorrow night, Thursday night, we have the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to take on the New England Patriots. I like the Patriots in this one, as do probably the majority of the NFL's fan world. I think New England takes this game by a score of 28-22. I think Kansas City will keep it relatively close, but New England will probably have this locked up by the middle of the fourth. I think Kansas City just gets a garbage time touchdown and tries to recover an onside kick, but they're not able to. So that's why the score I have is a little closer than what it indicates. But the Patriots are going to be tough to beat. I know they just lost Julian Edelman for the year, but they have other weapons. So go grab Brandon Cooks in your fantasy league, because I tell you, with Julian Edelman going down and Gronkowski being as brittle as he seems to be every single year, it seems, I mean, Brandon Cooks should have himself a nice season in New England. Same with Danny Amendola. So be sure to go up and grab Danny Amendola if he's still available in the way later rounds as a fourth, maybe even a fifth receiver. Because I think Danny Amendola might, and Chris Hogan, I believe, both of them I think are going to take over the slot role that Julian Edelman was able to have with the Patriots. But New England takes this game over Kansas City. Now we go to Sunday. First game that I see on here is the Jets at the Bills. Let's see here. Compared to every other game this week, this is the game that few people probably care about, because none of these teams are going anywhere. Whereas every other game, teams have aspirations, teams have expectations. This is the only game where, I mean, every other game so far in week 1 has a team that either made the playoffs last year, right? Yeah, every single game almost has a team that made the playoffs last year. The others are Ravens, Bengals, and both of those teams have at least playoff implications. Colts, Rams, Indy, despite Andrew Luck being out, they still have some playoff aspirations. Philly and Washington, and Carolina definitely has playoff aspirations. I mean, Jets-Bills is the only one you could really look at from a whole and say both of these teams aren't going anywhere. The Bills dumped a lot of talent over the last 2 months or so. They are building for next year, and I think Buffalo is starting back at the bottom. I like what Sean McDermott is doing with his team, whereas the Jets are just in disarray. I have no idea why they want to start Josh McCown. This is something where I believe you need to throw Bryce Petty or Christian Hackenberg in the fire, and you need to see what they have for 16 games. Not use a veteran that's been in the league for 60 years, because you're not going anywhere anyways. I think Buffalo takes this game by a score of 20-7 over the Jets. Bills got rid of Ronald Darby, but they still have a pretty good defense, and the Jets, look at who their quarterback is. Moving on, Jaguars at Texans. I actually thought long and hard about this game. I was gonna pick the Jaguars if Blake Bortles wasn't starting, but because Blake Bortles is starting, I gotta swing back. I gotta pick the Texans. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think Houston wins this game by a score of 17-13 over the Jaguars. Both of these defenses are very good. Yes, even though the Jaguars are god-awful year in and year out, they have built a solid defense on paper. Whether or not that will translate to the regular season is yet to be seen. but on paper, especially after their off-field acquisitions, um, in the secondary, I mean, they're deep and they should be decent. Both of these teams are starting quarterbacks that are two of the worst quarterbacks in the league. I know it's unfair to give that label to the Texans rookie Deshaun Watson, but he has no experience. Blake Bortles and Deshaun Watson are going up against each other in Week 1. And I'm picking the better defense and the more established team. And the home team that has something to play for because of a hurricane, I might add. I mean, not a lot of people realize how big of a deal that is. Crap. Excuse me for a second. I have to plug in this laptop. But not a lot of people understand how much of an impact and what you're playing for when it comes to having a situation where you play is in jeopardy and people are struggling. J.J. Watt has been doing a magnificent job raising money, and J.J. Watt, even though I'm a Titans fan, is one of my favorite players. Despite him being a rival. Houston, I think, takes this. Next game, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cleveland Browns. I actually flirted with picking Cleveland. I don't know why. I'm not going to. I think the Steelers win this game. But I think Cleveland makes it a little interesting. I think the Steelers win 24-14 over Cleveland. I don't think the Steelers are going to erupt. The Cleveland Browns are in a similar situation of the teams that I just mentioned. The Jaguars, and I get maybe not the Texans, they're not established, but if you look at Cleveland's defense on paper, Christian Kirksey, Jamie Collins, Myles Garrett, Jabril Peppers. I mean, there is young talent all across the board on the defense in Cleveland, and we don't know what they have in DeShone Kizer yet. You never know. Cleveland, they might be slotted. I actually picked them to win 5 or 6 games this year. I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland does well. But with the Steelers coming into town and the three-headed monster on offense, I don't think the Browns are going to win that game. 24-14, Pittsburgh over Cleveland. Next up, we have the Cardinals at the Lions. I'm picking Arizona in this game. Detroit, yeah, I know they made the playoffs last year, but anytime they played a team that was just decent, they lost. I mean, the Lions rode a 3 or 4 game losing streak into the playoffs when they finally started playing some playoff contenders. They lost to the Giants, they lost to the Cowboys, they lost to the Packers. Then they went on to lose to the Seahawks in the playoffs. They lost to the Titans earlier in the year. I know they swept Minnesota, but they barely won both of those games. They escaped them. And that's not every year you're going to be able to win 8 games coming from behind. And I think the Cardinals are going to exploit that, at least in Week 1. I think the Lions will win their fair share of games this year. But I think Arizona's going to be back. And I think the Cardinals take this game, I want to say by a score of 27-19 over Detroit. Next game is the Buccaneers at the Dolphins. That game is postponed. In case they do play this week, I will make my prediction. I think Tampa wins no matter where the venue is, what the situation is, where they play. It doesn't matter. I think the Buccaneers win this game by a score of 23-20, eking over the Miami Dolphins. This score might be subject to change if this game is moving to Week 11, which is when both of these teams have their byes. But if they play this week, I have Tampa Bay winning 23-20 over Miami. Jay Cutler's a Dolphin now, and Tampa's got Vernon Hargreaves. I think they still have Alteron Werner, Gerald McCoy. I mean, the defense is, I don't think it's going to be Jay Cutler's best friend. Miami's got weapons all over the board on offense. That's one thing that Jay Cutler has going for him. I mean, when you have Kenny Stills, you have Devontae Parker, you have Lamar Miller. I think Miami is going to be decent this year, but they got a tough draw against the Buccaneers in Week 1. Next game, we have the Falcons at the Bears. I'm picking Atlanta in this game to win 36-20. And I'm even being a little generous, giving the Bears 20 points. The Falcons, I think they're going to pick up right... Maybe I shouldn't say pick up right where they left off, because, you know, they kind of didn't score a single point in the last quarter of the Super Bowl. Too soon, Falcons fans. But overall, I think Atlanta on offense will pick up where they left off at the end of the third quarter in the Super Bowl, especially when you're going up against Chicago's defense. So, Atlanta wins. Next game, Raiders at Titans. I thought long and hard about this one because let me tell you, this Week 1 matchup I personally think might be, looking at all the other games, I think this game and Giants-Cowboys are the two best games of Week 1. And Chiefs-Patriots. These are going to be the three best games of Week 1, I believe. I went back and forth all week long. I gotta pick the Raiders. I'm doing it to them. I think the Raiders beat the Titans. I'm gonna give this score 27-26. It's gonna be that close. Tennessee's at home. They've won 4 straight home games. They actually haven't lost a home regular season game since they lost to the Colts in week 8 or 9 last year. So Tennessee's on a 4 home game winning streak. But there's a lot of buts you could put with why you could pick, like, you're picking the Titans to win, or you're picking the Raiders to win, but it's a toss-up. Flip a coin. Because both of these teams I think are going to be very good this year, and for once, this is the most excited I've been as a Titans fan since the end of the 2008 season, and it has been a long time. Especially in my lifespan at 23 years old. Last time Tennessee was in the playoffs, I was in 9th grade in high school. Since then, I'm about 1 year out of college. So, I gotta go with Oakland, though. That defense, I think that secondary of Tennessee's, I think it's just too bad. It's the secondary, I know we did what we could to revamp it. It's still not there. And the Raiders have too many weapons on offense. Michael Crabtree, Amari Cooper, a lot more established than Tennessee's receivers. I know we only held this team to 17 points last season, and Mariota didn't even have anywhere close to one of his best games. It was probably one of his worst games as a pro. And Tennessee still only lost on the 10-yard line because of what I like to say is a ticky-tacky no call and a ticky-tacky call on Andre Johnson, and then on the other end against Harry Douglas. I think Oakland kind of benefited from that, but you know what? It is what it is. I still have the Raiders winning this game. Next up, we have the Ravens at the Bengals. I'm going with Baltimore. Going with Baltimore because their defense should be good. I know... Actually, hang on a second. I forgot to look this up. Is Joe Flacco playing week 1? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it looks like... Yeah, he'll probably play week 1. So, I'm actually going to stick with Baltimore here. The Ravens have a very nice defense, and I think Baltimore wins this game 23-16 over Cincinnati. I know the Bengals have A.J. Green, they have weapons on offense, and they have Andy Dalton. But you can't discount how many losses they experienced in the offseason. They lost offensive linemen, they lost defense, they lost more than they gained. And the first-round pick, John Ross, probably isn't playing. Next up, we have the Eagles at the Redskins. Again, another game where, I mean, that's, 3 straight games where you could flip a coin? I mean, I am going to go with the Eagles. I'm going with Philadelphia because they actually played 10 games last year against playoff participants. Not a lot of people realize that. They played 10 games, right? 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 9. They only played 9 games against teams that made the playoffs last season. And their other 7 games that they played, 2 were against the Redskins, who had a winning record. So you could even say 11 games against teams with winning records, mind you. And then you could throw Baltimore in there and say, okay, they played 12 games against teams that didn't have losing records, because Baltimore went 8-8. Philadelphia played the easy opponents Philadelphia had. Easy. Well, Cleveland. Last season, what division did they play? The NFC North? Yeah, they played the NFC North. They beat the Bears. So Cleveland and the Bears. And mind you, I think those were the first 2 games of the regular season for them. I think Philadelphia started off 3-0 last year. Games against the Browns and the Bears. So, of their last 14 games, 12 of them were against teams that didn't have losing records. This Philadelphia Eagles team is a lot better than people give them credit for. They have Alshon Jeffrey now. They have weapons on offense. And the Redskins lost weapons on offense. Kirk Cousins is still a better quarterback, I believe, than Carson Wentz. But I think Philadelphia, I think they get off on a good start here. I think the Eagles take this game 28-23 over Washington. Next up, Colts at Rams. This is Scott Tolzien going up against the Rams front 7, and as crappy as the Rams are year in and year out, one thing that you cannot deny is that Rams front 4 or front 7 is among some of the best players in the entire NFL. That is a fact. You're talking Alec Ogletree. You're talking I'm blanking out on names now, and I was hyping them up, and I don't even know their names. Awesome. Rams front 7. Yeah, I mean they have Alec Ogletree. They have Aaron Donald. I mean, they have Wade Phillips there now, and they have Connor Barwin. I mean, it's very decent front 7. Mark Barron, Dominic Easley. I mean, it just goes on. And this is Scott Tolzien. And I think the Rams are going to win this game. I'm going to say it is the Colts defense, 20-13 over the Indianapolis Colts. Next game, you have the Panthers at the 49ers. I'm putting Carolina on upset alert in this game. Why? Because I think that Brian Hoyer is a lot better quarterback than people give him credit for. I know people originally think about how he had the crazy playoff loss to the Houston Texans, where they only put up this many points. But now you have Kyle Shanahan running that team. And Brian Hoyer, statistically, isn't terrible. He's really not. Carolina, I mean, they do have Luke Kuechly on defense. But let's not forget, Kyle Shanahan was with the Falcons last year, and guess who Atlanta played twice a year? So Kyle Shanahan knows the Panthers. Keep that in mind as well. I still think the Panthers win this game, but it's not going to come easy. I think Carolina wins 30-24 over the 49ers. Next up, we got the Seahawks at the Packers. Gotta go Green Bay here. This is a very, there's 4 good games this week. Seahawks, Packers should be good. Seattle's secondary, though, I know they're healthy now, but let's not forget how they were eaten alive last year against the Packers. I still don't trust the Seahawks. If you watch videos and you've seen my pick videos, you should know how much I don't trust Seattle. I know it's a new season, but when you put up 5 points against the Buccaneers and then beat the Panthers by 40 the following week, only to lose to the Packers the week after that by like 30 points, you're inconsistent. This is an inconsistent team traveling on the road in Week 1 to Green Bay against a team that is probably still pissed off they spotted Atlanta, what, a 28-0 lead, whatever the heck it was. Green Bay wins this game 34-24 over the Seahawks. Next up, we have the Giants at the Cowboys. Ezekiel Elliott will play in this game. How many home teams do I have winning? 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, 3-4, 3-5, 3-6, 3-7, 4-7, 4-8. Okay, yeah, it seems logical to pick Dallas here. I'm picking the Cowboys to win. Zeke's playing. The Giants, this should be a very good game, and I think the Cowboys win 35-31. Don't expect him to win many games though with his Zeke's suspension. I know they still have one of the best O-lines in the league, and Darren McFadden could be just as productive. But let's face it, as good as Ezekiel Elliott is, that Cowboys offensive line, if you replace that line with a line like the Minnesota Vikings, Ezekiel Elliott does not find running room. I think the Cowboys win though. Monday night, Saints at Vikings. I'm gonna pick the Saints. Sorry, Gio. Bucking the trend here. Don't think Minnesota is that good. I know they have Sam Bradford, but in the grand scheme of things, this is a quarterback-driven league. And I know Sam Bradford was one of the most accurate passers, was the most accurate passer in league history last year. But hey, I'd be the most accurate passer in NFL history too if every single pass of mine was 3 yards after the line of scrimmage, because that's all the Minnesota Vikings offensive line could give Sam Bradford in terms of time to throw the ball. Adrian Peterson is going to want to stick it to his old team. Adrian Peterson, other than Brett Favre, never had a legit quarterback in Minnesota. I mentioned this in my predictions video. Never had a legit quarterback other than Brett Favre. Now he's stepping out of the field with Drew Brees in the backfield. You're not going to be able to stack 8 in the box. Not against Adrian Peterson. And he's technically got a year of rest now. So no one can know for sure which Adrian Peterson is going to show up this season. Because for all we know, the 1,400 yard a season Adrian Peterson could show up. It's possible. You never know. I think the Saints win this game. That offense is very good. And I think the New Orleans Saints take this game by a score of 28-20 over the Vikings. I don't think the Vikings are going to be very good this year. I know they have a very good defense, but they barely have a quarterback. They don't have an offensive line. They don't exactly have weapons on offense. And his team is going as far as the defense takes them. Last up, we have the Chargers at the Broncos. I'm picking a lot of away teams this week. Oh my goodness. And I'm going to continue that trend here because YOLO. Chargers. I'm picking the Chargers over the Broncos. They're relatively healthy. Healthy for for Los Angeles. Healthy for the Los Angeles Chargers because, let's face it, last 2 seasons, the Chargers, that injury bug hit them hard every single season. I don't know if they need to fire their team doctor or their conditioner or what, but I tell you, it's crazy how much the injury bug just sticks with teams. I think the Chargers beat the Broncos here, and I think they win by a score of 26-21 over Denver. The Broncos have a good defense. They're kind of like the Minnesota Vikings of the AFC. The only difference is Denver actually has weapons on offense. They just don't have the quarterback. Well, so I guess you could say they're kind of like a Houston Texans that plays in a tougher division that's more battle tested. That sounds about right. Yeah, those are my picks for week 1. I know it's a lot of away teams. I have 16 games. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the 16 games. I have the away teams winning. Wow. Well then, those are my picks. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. See you guys all next time.